first off that the choice of song Working Class Hero for Bob Crow was certainly very apt. I know Bob for a long number of years. I had the pleasure of sharing platforms with him on many occasions. He was a regular visitor to Ireland, and he was a strong ally of working people in Ireland, and for those who argued, who campaigned, and who were prepared to fight for a just and fair society. And he is undoubtedly a huge, huge loss. And I know all of us send our thoughts and our best wishes to Nicky and to the family, and through Steve and Peter to the union membership and the broader labour movement in Britain. But also it is, of course, a loss to us who are active everywhere. It's always interesting to come to the United States, but never more so as an Irish woman at St. Patrick's Day. And it's very interesting that the wearing of the green is done with such gusto here. It's just fabulous. And well done, fair play to you. Because, as Jerry said earlier, the Irish in America always kept faith with us back home. And I think, if I may single out Mr. Samuelson in his suit today, I noticed. He said that was to welcome us, I'm not convinced. As an example, with roots in Derry. It would be easy, to come here and to get wrapped up in the day-to-day hustle and bustle and the excitement that is life in a large American city. You could understand how that might happen. But the Irish, when they came here into this day, have kept a strong relationship with their roots, a strong relationship with the old sod and the home turf, and not just in some romanticised, idealistic way, but in a very practical way. And I think all of you know that, for instance, the progress that we've made in Ireland in ending the war in the north and in building a peace process simply would not have been possible without America and without the Irish in America. And I want to commend you and thank you once again for all of that. We owe you a very, very great debt of gratitude. The story of Ireland is a story of emigration. We are essentially a nation of exiles. Irish people left their homeland, like many other nationalities, through poverty, because of political oppression, to find a start, to find a new way of life. And they came here in considerable numbers to this country. And when they came, at least initially, as all of you know, very many of them faced discrimination. No Irish need apply. And that was hard. And of course, if that was not a unique experience to the Irish, we know that, but nonetheless, it is part of the Irish story. And what's so interesting about the Irish community in America, just as in Britain, is the way in which Irish women and men gathered and organised and supported each other, and very often against huge odds, forced change, and carved out a space and an identity for themselves and for their families. And not alone that, and it's been said here today, this is the next important piece of the puzzle. Having created that space and dynamic for themselves, put out the hand of friendship to the others that faced discrimination or exclusion or prejudice or stereotyping, and said, no, come with us. All for one and one for all. You could debate forever what it means to be Irish. We all know the image of the colleen with the ringlets, generally assumed to be red hair, and nice freckles and the whole bit. And we all have our image of what an Irish man or woman looks like and is like. The truth is that we are a very diverse people. The Ireland that I grew up in was almost entirely white. And very white because we don't get much sunshine. So take it from me, it was white. The Ireland of today is very different from that. We're ethnically mixed, we are ethnically diverse, and we are in the process of creating a real rainbow Ireland that accommodates and respects every colour and every creed. And there's some resistance to that, but that's to be expected. But nonetheless, that transition and change at home is underway, and that's not to be feared, that is to be celebrated. Because to be Irish is to be white, but to be Irish is to be black. To be Irish is to be Asian, to be male, to be female, to be a person with a disability. All of that is the patchwork of our nation and our nationality, and we are immensely, immensely proud of that fact. I remember a good friend of mine saying that this was his definition of what it was to be Irish. Listen to this, because I thought this was good. He said, if you think you're Irish, you're Irish. It's a frame of mind. It's a form of psychology. If you believe in freedom, you're Irish. If you believe in equality, you're Irish. If you believe in social justice, you are a Paddy. And not just on March the 17th, but the whole year long. The proclamation in Easter 1916 did, as Jerry said, address itself to Irish men and to Irish women, and it was revolutionary in its time in that recognition of women. But it was also revolutionary in many, many other respects, because it identified the rights of people to the ownership of their country and its wealth and its resources. It identified that and named that very clearly. That was incredibly radical at the time. In fact, it's still radical today. And the proclamation of Easter is our blueprint, James Connolly being one of the signatories of that foundation document of the Irish nation. When you sang, Chris, in your rendition of The Fields of Athenry, you heard the line, my favourite line in that song, where the young man sings, nothing matters, Mary, when you're free. And there's a profound truth in that. Because working people, women and men, face their struggles, face their dilemmas, face their pressures, write their own story throughout their lifetime. But if you live a life that bears the hallmark of freedom, of choice, of opportunity, well then that gives you a framework for a truly remarkable journey. Whether you're a transport worker here in New York, or whether you are a bus driver in my home city of Dublin. So, freedom means very many things. In the case of Ireland, it still means achieving that unity of territory, of democracy, and the unity of our people. And our friend Bob Crow understood that, and I know very many of you gathered in this room understand that too. But freedom also means opportunity and dignity in our places of work. It means the right to decent work, to secure work, a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. It means also our pension entitlements being underwritten and secure. And very many of these very basic things are under attack. They're under pressure here in the United States, but also right across Europe and indeed in Ireland. We had a delegation over last October, and they visited Dublin, the best city in the world, no offence, best Irish city, and Belfast and Waterford. And they marked the centenary of the 1913 lockout. But I think what was most interesting about that trip was the conversations that happened about issues and workers' rights in the here and now. Not harking back to history, but looking at the present and looking to the future. And I think anybody who was on that delegation, and I see our friend Dan Kane from the Teamsters is with us here today. Dan was on that delegation. I think anybody who made that trip left in no uncertain terms of the common cause that we share. United we will stand, divided we will undoubtedly fall. And as Bob put it there, better than anybody else could put it, if the bosses are better organised, well then their interest will win out. So we have a lot of work to do together. And I'm very pleased to be here again with you, and thank you so much for the kind invitation to mark St. Patrick's Day. But I also want to say to you that our relationship, our solidarity is not just about this date, March the 17th in the calendar. We need to be in common cause and in solidarity with each other all year long. And I'm a great believer that you can do pretty much anything that you put your mind to. And I also know that working women and working men, if they take on a challenge, if they stand firmly together, shoulder to shoulder, will not be cowed and will not be defeated. And workers in America, and workers in Ireland, workers in Britain, workers right across the globe now have not just an opportunity but an absolute responsibility to find each other, to seek each other out, and to build ever stronger those bonds of solidarity, of common cause, of friendship, of love, because Bob Crow was loved by people in this room because he was one of you. He was one of us. He got it and he was on our side. That's where we are. And we're at a time of immense challenge, but we're up to it. Every one of us here is up to it. We can face it, and together we can overcome. So Bob, may you rest in peace. Arias J. Garev a Anam Delish. As they say, Asgailga. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Well done to this fine union, and to John Samuelson, who has had, by any stretch, a remarkably successful year, and I'd like to acknowledge that and to congratulate you, John, for all of your hard work. Our demands remain most modest. We only want the world, and we intend to take it. Good night.